In 1957, a stray dog named Laika became the first animal to ever orbit the Earth when she was the occupant of the Soviet spacecraft Sputnik 2. The dog was originally reported to have died painlessly in orbit about 1 week after blastoff. But nearly 50 years later, it was revealed that she likely died from overheating and panic just a few hours after the mission started. The entire planet Saturn is less dense than water. This means that if there was a pool big enough for it, the planet would float. Soviet cosmonaut Sergei Krikalev got stuck in space during the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Since the country that sent him into space had no longer existed, his return home was delayed. He stayed in space for 311 days, twice as long as the mission originally called for. Don Rickles passed away before he was able to record any lines for Toy Story 4. But instead of replacing him, Disney reviewed 25 years of material from the first 3 films, video games, and other media. They were able to assemble enough dialogue to cover the entire film. This seal pup was abandoned by her colony because she's ginger. In 1945, a U.S. Air Force bomber accidentally crashed into the Empire State Building due to heavy fog. The accident caused the deaths of 14 people and more than $1 million in damages. Plane parts also severed the cables of an elevator and the woman inside fell for 70 stories. She miraculously lived and still holds the world record for the longest survived elevator fall. In 2009, spelunker John Jones was caving with some friends and family in the Nutty Putty Cave in Utah. About an hour into the expedition, John decided to find the route known as the Birth Canal, a narrow passage that spelunkers must crawl through carefully if they dare. After finding what he thought was the birth canal, he crawled in head first and started inching his way forward. But John would soon realize that this wasn't the birth canal, since it was way tighter than anything safe to crawl through. By this point, John didn't even have enough room to wiggle out the way he came, so his only option was to push forward. Over the next 27 hours, hundreds of rescuers failed to pull John out of the crevice. At some point, John died from cardiac arrest and his body was never retrieved. The Nutty Putty Cave has since been sealed off. During World War II, the Polish army officially enlisted a brown bear named Wojtek. He enjoyed drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, and wrestling, as he served as a morale booster for soldiers. Bill Millen was a personal piper who played his bagpipes on D-Day while his fellow comrades were getting killed all around him. The only reason German snipers didn't shoot him was because they thought he had gone mad. During the Vietnam War, John Donahue took a plane from New York City and snuck into the war zone to deliver beer to his buddies. It is known as the greatest beer run ever, and there have been multiple documentaries made about it. Dennis Vashurin looks like a young teenage boy, but he's actually 32 years old. Due to a genetic malfunction, Dennis stopped aging sometime in his teens, but otherwise he's healthy. In ancient Rome, men found guilty of rape sometimes had their testicles crushed between 2 stones. In Devon, England, there's a shadow of a sign that closely resembles a person being hanged. Coincidentally, it can be seen near a spot called Dead Man's Cross, where criminals were hanged from a gallows in the 13th century. Richard Klinkhammer's wife mysteriously disappeared in 1991. The next year, he wrote a book on 7 ways to kill your spouse. A few years later, the new owners of his former home found his wife's skeletal remains. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison but was released 5 years early for good behavior. In 1976, 7 armed men broke into Bob Marley's home and attempted to assassinate him. Bob was shot in the chest and the arm but survived. His wife Rita was shot in the head but also survived thanks to her thick dreadlocks slowing down the bullet. Marley's manager claimed that the CIA was behind the assassination attempt. In 1894, a priest in Germany saved a little boy from drowning. That little boy was Adolf Hitler. In many of his later portraits, Napoleon Bonaparte can be seen with his hand over his stomach. This is because he suffered from severe abdominal pain due to what we can identify today as stomach cancer. It is believed that he died from the cancer at the age of 51. In 2013, a group of burglars stole a bunch of computers from an office building. But they soon returned the items with this note because they realized they had stolen from a non-profit group that helps victims of sexual abuse. These are shoes made to look like cow hooves that were worn by moonshiners to hide their tracks during Prohibition. Serial killer Robert Hansen was responsible for the murders of at least 17 women throughout the 70s and 80s. He would first abduct his victims and fly them to his isolated cabin in the Alaskan mountains, which was only accessible by boat or plane. He would then release them and hunt them down like wild animals, using a knife or hunting rifle. During World War II, Yang Kyung-jong was a Korean soldier who was captured by the Japanese and forced to fight the Soviets. He was then captured by the Soviets and forced to fight the Germans. Eventually, he was captured by the Germans and forced to defend Normandy, where he was finally captured by Americans and sent to a prison camp. He is the only known soldier to have ever fought on 3 sides of a war. During World War II, many zoo animals in Germany were taken care of by civilians in their own homes. In 1961, the US Army accidentally dropped a hydrogen bomb on North Carolina. The bomb was 260 times more powerful than the nuke dropped on Hiroshima. Only a single switch prevented it from detonating.